Well, welcome back to The Curious. As I mentioned in my last session, whether it's successful or a failure, I would show you what the outcome of my little air mover was going to be. I'm using some conduit here, some plastic flexible conduit, but there's no way that you can get this conduit into the machine itself. The path is too restricted and it crosses over the laser beam path anyway to get out of the machine. And if it's successful, then you really can run the machine with the lid open, and what I've done there is literally just hooked it through the machine handle. So there's enough flex and float there to go over the whole of the bed, except just down this last little corner here you either lose an inch off this axis or an inch off that axis, because this bolt here has a tendency to just hit this bracket right at the extreme corner. But apart from that, everything's in clearance. It does reset to 0 nicely without hitting anything. And what I've got here at the moment, I've got about 5 meters of conduit on the end here, so we can see how successful the extraction is. Now I'm running an engraving program on MDF because I know that that makes a large amount of smoke. My LED pointer is just tied up here at the moment, purely to keep it out of the way. And here I've got my little control valve to change the pressure with to get this going in a minute. I will just add some pressure to it to get it working. At the moment it's not working, but what I have got is just a small amount of positive pressure coming out of the nozzle to make sure none of the smoke gets taken back into the nozzle. So there's air coming out of the nozzle but not full air pressure. Well, let's go for it and see what happens. Well, I'm just going to turn my extractor on so that we can clear the decks here. And what hopefully you can see is the smoke coming out of 5 meters of tube. Now we are getting some spillage out of here, if you look carefully at the back there, and I don't think, if I wind the pressure up a little bit, well, so we sacrificed one noise for another. So we're still getting some spillage, and the compressor is crashing itself to death behind me. So I think the answer is yes, it nearly works, but no, it's not practical. So we have to put this one down as a bit of a failure, I think. Well, as always, I've enjoyed playing with it, and the experiment sort of was about a 20% success, 80% failure. So overall, it's not worth doing. Stick with a large extraction system. I've taken my extractor system off the back here, and I was planning to leave the screen on here for a period of time to test that, because it does at least give me some protection against stray radiation. But sadly, I think I'm even going to class that as a failure as well, because inside here we've got horrible sticky residue from cutting the MDF, and in fact it's also coated the outside of this nozzle. I think I'd rather have the stickiness suspended in the air and extracted by the main extractor, rather than have it coat the inside of the machine and the various bits and pieces. So I think concentrating that smoke is in fact not a good thing. So I'm just going to use some isopropyl alcohol to clean that nozzle outside. So okay, from 20% success, 80% failure, I think we'll call it 100% failure. Sorry guys. From a safety point of view, I always wear glasses, and these plastic lenses afford me a lot of protection. while I'm around the front side of the machine here. But if I'm around the back of the machine working with the laser tubing anyway at all, then I really ought to be using full side protected goggles to make sure that I don't get reflections off of anything else.